Greetings, everyone. John here, ready to start on the next project, which will be this guy here, the Aurora Prehistoric Scenes Woolly Mammoth. And this box is in really bad shape. If you go on eBay, sometimes this is what you get. And actually, it's not going to be the kit that's in here, which there may actually be a couple of kits. It's going to be this one here that is, I can put that back in here. I've already done a parts inventory on it. I believe I've got all the parts. So that's going to be my next project. My order of operations is going to be to get it cleaned up with Windex and get it all wiped down and go through, read the instructions, of course, and go through the assembly and prime and paint along the way. I also, recently my girlfriend and I went to Waco Mammoth Monument in Waco, where they have not woolly mammoths, but Columbian mammoths. So I like to get mammoths, or I like to get, as you may have seen me in the past, where I've gotten toy versions of the model I'm going to build and prime them and paint them the way that I want them to do. So that's what I'm going to do with this guy here. All right. I was holding off on working on this until I got my GoPro set up, but I found my GoPro, and because I recently moved and everything's a mess back there, my GoPro is not starting up. So I've got a new battery and cable on the way. I've also got a second GoPro that I found used fairly cheap on eBay. Hopefully it'll work. We'll see. Because I want to do better videos, and I'm probably going to put that GoPro right up here so you can see what I'm doing. But I wanted to go ahead and get started on this because I'm just excited to get on to this project. So that's the overview. I have ordered some Vallejo snow, so this is going to have snow to it. I built this one when I was a kid many years ago. A long time ago. So it's kind of going to be fun to revisit it. I will say that right off the top, the base is in 3 pieces. I'll just go ahead and preview this. So there will be puttying going on here. As you can see, there will be gaps. Hopefully not too crazy. We'll find out. And there will be some, because of the way the body goes together, the legs, the back legs, go in before you put the halves together. And you have to have the body put together before you can do the two halves of the head. So there will be some puttying going on. I've also ordered some Vallejo putty that hopefully will come in soon. I want to try that, see if we can get a little more control over the putty. This also has a lot of texture to it. And when I did the tar pit and with the woolly rhino, I was able to get some of the texture put together here. So preserving the texture is going to be a big challenge on this. Anyway, so that's what we're up to. I'm going to get started with cleaning parts. I'm going to try to do this. I hate to use the term tutorial, but like a tutorial. Because I'm more documenting my process than saying, hey, do it this way. and hopefully you learn things to do or things not to do based off of my experience. So we're going to get into it, uh, and looking forward to it. It's kind of revisiting my childhood. So, all right, well, let's get started. All right, we're going to start off with cleaning the parts. The reason you clean the parts is because when they mold the pieces with the or doing the injection mold, they often use a release agent, and that release agent can stay on the plastic and mess up your paint job. So you want to get rid of that if it's there. The best way I have found to do this is a two-part process, which uses first Windex and then water. So all I'm going to do is set this down here so I don't create too much of a mess. I'm going to more worried about the outside than the inside. So I'm going to come over with the Windex and just wipe down the parts. Just like that. Pretty straightforward. Then I'm going to come back around again. Now that I've hit it with the Windex, I'm now going to use the water and wipe that down again, just to make double sure we don't have any residual release agent. All right, and let me go ahead and get the next part. I'm going to go ahead and knock this out. So again, spray it down, wipe it down thoroughly. Come back with water. And move on to the next part. So I'm going to continue on with that, and we'll come back and talk some more. Welcome back. The base. I'm still working on the base. I'll show you the underside of this. So I ended up doing a number of things, including using super glue. Just noticed that was open. Good old Zap-A-Gap. And in conjunction with this Insta-Set, which sets it instantly. It's aptly named. In addition to that, I took some strip styrene like this and made a little bit of a support structure to hold it together. It's still gappy. So I just got in. Oh, by the way, I also sanded down the mold lines on this, so I'm going to reprime that shortly here. So I got in, and I'm going to try this. I have not used this before. This is Vallejo plastic putty. And let me get a toothpick. So we're going to try this and see how well it works. Let me get a couple toothpicks here and a plate should I need it. So I like, just at first glance, I do like that it has this here. And let's see, do I need to do anything here? does have, I'm guessing I can do it like that. So it is sealed. So I'm going to use a toothpick here and, all right. I do like this little nozzle. We're going to see how well it works. So I'm going to turn you down here and let you see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with this big end first, where the big gaps are, and just see if it will flow for me. All right, a little messy to start off with, that's okay. I understand that this can be thinned with water. It is water soluble. So that could be helpful. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going right along, and it goes in pretty well. I'm so far okay. A lot less mess. Anyway. And I think what I'm going to do now is take a little bit of water and thin it out a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little water on a fingertip and just see what it does here. Not bad. Okay. So it does thin with water. That's good. And all right. So let's get some paper towels. Clean this up a little bit. Because the more you can clean it while it's wet, the less sanding and cleanup you have to do later. I'm thinking I may need a second pass after this is dried, but not too shabby. All right. I'm going to touch up a couple of places. Well, you know what? I'm going to let this dry. This will be my first pass. And we'll see how it works here. I'm going to do this second line. It's certainly going down, not perfectly, but more controlled than I have seen with other types of putties. So that's a good sign. And as with any new material or tool, you just kind of have to play with it a little bit to get it to learn it, if you will. But yeah, this base is very gappy. Not so keen about that. But I think that we'll get it worked out. Anyway, certainly uses less putty. And I think this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet this down and go over it like this here. Just to clean that up a little bit. I think we could use a little more here. A little more there. I think this area is going to take a little building up. But all right. I'm going to let that dry and then come back, and I think it's going to need a little more filling after that dries. But I do like the nozzle. It is nice. So, all for now. More to come. Okay. So, the base, I'm still doing some putty work on that. And I just finished priming the tusks. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try a little experiment with these seams here. It's going to be really tricky. I thought about using this Vallejo that I just tried on the base, and each thing has its use, and I don't think this is going to be good for dealing with the seam lines on the woolly mammoth. What I think is going to end up happening is that I'm going to put a little milliput down on the seam here, and then take like an X-Acto knife and add the texture over it. Because sanding this down is not, I mean, the joint itself is good. Okay, it's not like there's an overlap. There's a little bit here, but not much to speak of. So sanding it down, I don't think is going to be the answer. What I think is going to be the answer is putting some putty over it and then sculpting it out. So let me do this here. Let me get you where you can see. Let's see, let's move that just a little bit more here. Okay. So I've got the 2-part milliput. I'm just going to do a tiny little bit here because I don't know how this is going to work out, so I don't want to waste any of the milliput. So what I'm doing is I'm making 2 little balls approximately the same size. Take a little hair off of there. Let's see, is that going to be, that's pretty close. Maybe use just a little bit less here. I think that's going to be about it. So I want these approximately the same size. All right, and let me put this away so it doesn't dry out. Actually, like that. Here. Twist that. Come here. Put that on the right side. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. And then clamp it off so it doesn't dry out on me. I don't know that it would dry out, but I don't want to take any chances. So what I'm going to do is roll these out. This is my way of doing these. And so I roll them out like so, each one. And then I'm going to take them and twist them together, like so. Like that, and then just keep twisting them together because you want a good mix here. And then maybe roll it a little bit, roll it out, fold it on itself, and then twist some more, and then fold it again, twist some more, roll it, and pretty soon you'll have it pretty well mixed. So it's got a short, not a real long working time. I want to say about, really you want to do about 15 minutes. So now we're going to take a little bit. I'm just going to do this a little bit at a time. I'm going to take this, roll it out a little bit, maybe a little bit more, take some off here. I just want a little tiny bit to start. And I'm going to put it right on the seam here. And what I want to do, now that I have it on that seam, I'm going to take my knife here and just kind of, this is water soluble, by the way. And I'm going to add, if it will let me, press it in good here. May have to wet it down. So I'm just going to take the knife, this is an experiment, by the way. Don't know if it's going to work out or not, but that's what we're trying right now. Maybe just a hair, a little touch of water to make it a little more workable. All right. Get some of this out of here. So I don't want straight lines. I want kind of something that's going to mimic hair. Anyway, that's what we're working towards. I'm going to work on this for a bit and come back and we'll see how I do. More to come. All right, let's recap what's happened so far. All right, so we got the base assembled with all the extra support structure and started working on the puttying and using this Vallejo. I may have called it Tamiya earlier. It's actually Vallejo plastic putty. And I think it's going to need a little time to dry. And it may take a couple of applications to make that work. I have also done the legs with this. And when I did the legs, I put the Vallejo putty on and then I brushed it with a wire brush. We're going to see what that does. I won't really know till I get it puttied. I do have this toenail on each one of these and the bottom that's going to have to get sanded. I have done the ears. Just a little bit of putty there. It was just enough to remove the seam line on these guys. I am going to have to do something about the inside of the mouth. I'm going to have to add, probably with some milliput, I will end up adding the back of the mouth to that. Because it's just enough where if you put the two together, it's not like there's something else going on here. It's kind of this hole in there. And it's really weird. And I'm not exactly sure if this is supposed to be the roof of the mouth. It's really kind of odd. I'll have to figure that out. I did the trunk. Again, the trunk is also with the Vallejo plastic putty and may take a few coats. But I rather do that than sand it down, because sanding is a lot of work in sanding that down. And if I can find another way to preserve texture and reduce the amount of sanding, I'm all for that. Got, of course, these sanded and primed again. The tree or stick or whatever you want to call this thing is primed. I had done the nameplate previously. I need to probably start working on that. And I have done the still wet, the test bed for the paint job. So that's where we're at tonight. Probably pick it up tomorrow and see where we get. All right. Thanks for joining me. More to come. Howdy, everyone. Just a quick update here. So I'm still seeing, and you may not be able to see this, I can very clearly see a line here for the seam. So my seam efforts did not go the way I wanted them to. So I'm going to have to tinker with this a bit. Yeah, I am thinking I may need to go back to the milliput rather than the Vallejo. Vallejo seems to have been good for the base here, but it's a different kind of thing. And I haven't done any work on the base either. I've been kind of busy the last few days. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is some filing and sanding on this. And then somebody suggested using, let's see if I can find it here. Here it is. Somebody suggested using a hacksaw blade to do the texture of the fur. So I am thinking that I'm going to file this down, sand it down, and try to preserve as much texture as I can, and then use the milliput, because I've got some more of it, to do the texture on this, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, I don't want to do too much sanding and filing, because you can, instead of a line, you'll end up with a bald spot, and I don't want that either. So, all right, well, that's where we're at right now. It's probably going to be a couple of days before I can get to it, but stay tuned. There will be more to come. Hello, everyone. It's been a few days since I've made any updates, so let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on here. I've gone back to the milliput for doing this, and I've been using this hacksaw blade to get the texture on the for the fur. So we're trying that now. I'm thinking there's going to be a need for some refinements in this process, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm liking the milliput for this more than I did before. I was hoping that the Vallejo was going to be the solution, but it's actually turning out that the milliput may be the solution here. All right, so I have gone over this guy with the Tamiya linoleum brown, is it? I think. No, linoleum deck brown as my base color. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this model color black brown, and I'm going to do a wash with it. So I'm just going to, I'm going to bring you over here so you can see what I'm doing. All right, let's turn you down here. All right, hopefully you can see all that. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out here, and I want to do this as a wash. that down a little bit. That ought to be plenty. So I'm going to squirt it with some water here. And I'm going to take one of my good, this is just a broad, very broad brush with the black brown, because I do want to do this as a wash. And I'm just going to slather it on there and get it all coated. And then I will come back and go over it with a paper towel and get some of the excess off. Anyway, so that's what we're doing here. Just gonna spread it all over, get it all in there, all into the cracks and crevices, and so we'll get good shadow. Because with models, you know, light doesn't scale. It just doesn't. So you have to help it. And you help it, one of the ways you help it is by doing washes. And that's what we're doing here. So, get the head, and hopefully I've got just enough wash to make this work. I need to figure out the mouth here, which I may do, probably will do at a later time, but I've got almost all of this here. Get deep in that trunk. Make sure I've got all the surfaces covered with this wash. I think I've got all of it. Good. Just get good coverage here. All right. Let's put that away. And now I'm going to grab a paper towel. Where's my paper towel? There's my paper towels. All right. And now I'm just going to lightly remove the excess here. Just kind of go over it so that what got into the nooks and crannies will stay and what's on the surface will go. So I like to have at least three tones. A shadow, a highlight, and a mid-tone. And our linoleum deck brown is probably going to end up being our mid-tone, and this black brown that I just did will be my shadow tone. Now you can do more tones, but ideally, and it's not that you couldn't do just a light tone and a dark tone too, depending upon the model. You know, there's not hard rules, just what works. But usually shadow tone, a mid-tone, and a highlight tone. All right, so now we've got this guy, and I'm going to bring you back to me here. I've got this guy painted up with our mid-tone, and maybe after it dries I might go over it again, but that's at least a start. And this is the practice for the real model. So, all right, well, that's all for now. And we'll see what happens next. More to come. All right, so more progress. I have using the hacksaw blade method. I've done one leg and with a putty and then primed it, and I think it's okay. There's not an obvious seam line, so that's good. What's this here? And so I have done the other legs. I've got to wait for them to dry and then I'll prime them. I have done some work on the inside of the mouth to deal with this hole back here, which why they had to have a hole back there, I don't know. Makes no sense to me, but it's there. So I've used milliput to build something up there, and I'm sure there will be adjustments that need to be made. I've done a second round of the Vallejo on the cracks on the base here. It's a little tricky to sand. It's a plastic putty, so it seems to dry a little hard, maybe a little hard to sand. I'm still experimenting, so we'll see. I think I can make it work, but it's, learning new materials. So I can see I'm going to have a time with this area down here. Anyway, I'll work it out. So that's this evening's update. Got a lot more to do, but like I've got the trunk. I've sanded it down, which I wanted to get that unevenness that you sometimes have. So I've sanded or filed this down actually. So not tonight, but I'm going to come back through and probably with the milliput, because it seems to work a little bit better with the trying to sculpt it than the other putties have done. So we'll see. It's all an experiment. That's all for the moment. Stay tuned. More adventures to come. All right. Quick update. I managed to get here the legs puttied up and primed and spray painted. Not perfect, and I may show later how the puttying turned out. I can see it. It's textured. I think I need more practice. Along those same lines, I'm working on the trunk right now. So I'm again using milliput. And I've put the milliput down. Fortunately, it's water soluble, so I can smooth it out with water as I need. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking just a hobby knife here and putting the fur texture in. Got a lot more to do on this. Still have to do the other side. Not perfect, but I can tell that I'm learning. I've started working on the mouth, on the test bed here. The pink that I have is very thin, so it's probably going to take a few coats to get the pink in the mouth right. But making some progress. Stay tuned. More to come. Okay, progress thus far. I think I showed this before, the understructure, trying to keep all this together. And I have puttied and sanded and primed this. I think this is as good as it's going to get, which isn't too bad. So I think this is going to be ready for painting. On our test bed, I've done the mouth and a little bit on the tusks. Previously, I had done a wash with a black brown. So, more to do on this. I have primed and painted the body, which is almost the same color as the plastic, but there is something of a difference. But anyway, got that done, which I will still have to sand and possibly reprime and redo some of this when I put it together. But there were aspects of it that I kind of wanted, it just made sense to go ahead and do right now. It'll come together, I promise. I have got the same done with the legs, primed, painted. They'd been puttied, and if I look close, I can tell where I did the puttying. In some places not so much. So I am still figuring out my technique for puttying and sanding. I could go and redo it again, but I'm choosing not to. I'm going to move forward on this because this piece is to learn the kit. So that's where we're at on that. I've primed the nameplate. We'll start working on that soon. Of course, had the tusk primed, and I don't think this qualifies as a tree or a branch or a shrub. It's just a sad stick of wood that maybe was something, years ago, and now it's just sad. I've done a white primer on the head for the eyes and the mouth. And I did that because I'm going to paint the eyes and the mouth and then mask them off and then prime them and paint them. I'm going to have to do some filling because the tongue is has a center line that's going to have to be dealt with. So there's still stuff to do there, but it just made sense to go ahead and get it primed and do those pieces and then mask them off and come back to them. So that's where we're at right now. Still a lot to do. I think I'm going to come through the painted pieces and do the wash with the black brown and kind of have them ready to go. And then once I get done, I'm going to dry brush. Once it's all assembled, then I'll do the final dry brushing with the final top color, which may be something of a reddish brown. I have this whole red. Let me see if I can find it. That's the leather brown. Somewhere around here, I have a whole red. Yeah, here we go. A whole red. You may not be able to see it. It's a reddish brown, and I think I'm going to use that. I'm going to test it on this guy first and see if I like it. So we'll see. Anyway, that's where we're at tonight, and more to come. So stay tuned. Welcome back. So there's progress that's being made. Slow, but still progress. So let's talk about some things here. Starting with the base, I have been working on doing a wash for the shading, the darker color. This is going to be a lighter color rock formation, so I'm kind of going with a light dark tone, if you will, a brown wash. So that's where this is going. I'm already seeing some detail come through, and I'm actually not seeing much, if any at all, of the the puttying that I did. I have to go look at the bottom to see where the seams were. I mean, that's pretty good. All right. On the body so far, I did a black wash or black brown wash, dark wash on the body and the legs and the trunk. So that's pretty close to where I'm going to get before I do assembly. I've been working on the nameplate, still working on just the gold. Once I get the gold where I like, I'll mask off the border and then, or actually I take that back. I will spray paint it a few times with clear, a gloss clear, and then I'll mask it off the border and then start doing light washes of the background or the field, if you will. And then lastly, I'll come back with isopropyl alcohol dipped Q-tip to get the lettering through. Have not done anything with this thing yet. We'll come to back to that. I've started working on the eyes. I'm doing a very light pale brown first. I did look at some elephant eyes online to get some ideas. I have gotten the tusks. I've spray painted with the Tamiya Racing White, and our woolly mammoth here, I've pretty much done all that I'm going to do with this. I did a dry brush of a kind of a reddish brown. I've also done a clear, did the eyes, and then did clear on that and the mouth. So our test bed is done. Reasonably happy with that. So a lot of work yet to be done, but we're making progress. So stick around. There'll be more to come. Thanks. All right. Here is today's update. Still moving along with the nameplate. I think it's probably ready for some clear gloss. I did this. It's not a shrub. I don't think it qualifies as a tree. Maybe it wanted to be a tree when it grew up, but its growth got stunted. But anyway, this thing, branch, whatever, that's done. I've been working on the tusks. I first spray painted them with some, I don't have it around here, Racing White, Tamiya Racing White, and then flat clear. I have been working on the eyes on our woolly mammoth here, and I've got them done. I want to let them dry overnight. I also masked the mouth because this is going to get now that I've primered the eyes and the mouth with a white, this is going to get a coat of gray primer and then the linoleum deck brown after that, and then probably the black brown wash. But before I do all that, I'm going to take some masking fluid like this stuff here or this here, one of the two, and mask the eyes off before I do that priming. So that's where we're at on that. Now to the base. I'm almost done with the base. I've got some touch-ups to do that I'm going to come back to, but I'm pretty pleased with how the base has turned out. I I've got this kind of an odd grass shrub thing. I think that the way that this is supposed to be grass here, um, it's not sand. It's got a texture like grass. So I think it's grass, and then there's this other kind of plant here that I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, but um, that's what I'm going with. I need to do the edge with one more coat, but I'm pretty pleased with how this turns out. I do have some Vallejo snow that's coming in that I should be able to like sprinkle or do some like Elmer's glue and then sprinkle it on and have things look like there's snow there. So never worked with it before, so it's going to be a new adventure. Anyway, that's tonight's adventure, and all right. Last time I've gotten cut short because of low battery, so I've got this charged now, so hopefully we won't have any issues like that. All right, the base, more work has been done on the base. I think I may have gone a little too dark. I may have to fix some things here. It's okay, but I don't like how the brown has come out, so I've got to counter that. I have, hopefully you can see here, I have used some liquid mask to mask off the eyes here, and I'm going to prime these here soon. One of the things I'm gonna look at with the tusks, I've been looking at pictures of tusks, and there's probably not much you can see detail wise on this, but there are there's like striations or lines. They're not smooth. So what I'm looking at doing here is taking this brush and going over, this is a wire brush, and just going over the with the wire brush here. And if that doesn't do enough, I may come back to our good old, I think this may be the case, good old hacksaw blade and see if we can get some detail into that, which I will then, I'm just going to go ahead and do it while we talk here. I will then go over with a brown wash, and hopefully that will get into those details, and we'll see that in there. That's the hope. Okay. All right. Well, that's all that. We'll see what that does for us. Okay. I'm going to go prime these headpieces here, and we'll see what we come up with. Stay tuned. Welcome back. There's been a lot that's happened since our last visit. Let's get into it. Played around with the snow. This is the Vallejo Diorama FX Snow. And this was the test bed. Pretty good. I got the nameplate done. I think this may be the best nameplate I've done so far. Maybe. We'll see. I'm pretty pleased with it. Might need a little touch up here and there, but it looks pretty good. I got the base is, I'm going to call it done. I did the snow on it. and I'm pretty pleased with how it all came out. So I think it works. And here's where we're at on the woolly mammoth itself. It's all assembled. I just attached the head. So there's going to need to be some puttying done on this, and some filing and filling, and then touch-up painting. I'm going to have to do the mouth, and once I've done the touch-up painting, then I'm going to come through and give it the final highlight coat, which should be a little bit reddish, and then it should be done. So that's where we're at on this. I'm leaving the head articulated, and as I am some of the legs, because to be honest with you, to try to cement and fill this in, maybe I'll do that on a future version, but it kind of is what it is, so I'm not futzing with it too much. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. More work to be done, but we're closing in on completion here. So anyway, more to come. Thanks for joining me. Getting there. Real close. All right, so our woolly mammoth is fully assembled and painted. I may still have some touch-ups to do, but I'm pretty close to finished here. There's still some puttying things I think I need to learn, but we're pretty close to being done. I did a lot of paint stuff that I'm gonna let dry. But probably tomorrow, I'm going to come back with our Vallejo Diorama FX Snow and go over the top of the woolly mammoth here, and a few other places, of course. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it being my first attempt in, we'll just say, decades. So I looking forward to finishing this up tomorrow. I'm pretty pleased. Anyway, that's all for now. More to come. Whew. Well, I'm going to call it done. Definitely not perfect, but for the most part, pleased. May have gone a little heavy on the snow here, and I'll get some close-ups in a bit. But it was fun to revisit this kit. Learned a lot. Also learned that there are things I still need to work on, like dealing with seams and fur and such. Probably need some more practice with using the snow, but this was a good experience to play with new materials, new kinds of putty. The snow was definitely new. Some new techniques. Had to do some engineering on the base. So overall, very happy with it. I'm not gonna pick it up because the snow is still wet, but I am going to get some close-ups of it. So thanks for joining me on this adventure, and not sure what the next adventure is going to be, but there definitely will be one. So thanks for joining me.